It's pretty commonly taught that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If we start the day with Pop-Tarts or sugary cereal, then our brain ends up releasing chemicals that causes us to crave those types of food throughout the day. Whereas if we start off with a good breakfast like eggs and bacon or something that's wholesome and a lot of protein, then our body is nourished and then tends to crave those types of foods through the day as well. The same type of concept goes for the Eucharist as the first meal of the week. Back in about 400 AD, it's edified in St. Augustine's letter 54 that he talks about how the fasting before the Eucharist brings about a fellowship and how it's a discipline of the church, not a doctrine, so it's something that can be changed and modified, but it has to do with the fellowship of the body of believers. So it was actually in 1964 that Pope Paul VI changed it to, from midnight to Mass to receiving the Eucharist, he changed the fasting period to just 1 hour before receiving. So it made it a little bit more open for people, because we don't want communion to be something that's this huge hindrance or a huge burden in order to receive. So the exceptions to that, I mean, if somebody has to take medication at a certain time, or if they're elderly and they need the food in order to like walk around, then they're allowed to do that. So ultimately though, the whole purpose of it is, the doctrine in paragraph 1324 talks about how the Eucharist is the source and summit of Christian life. It ultimately is what gives us the strength to be able to say no to sins that are deadly to us and actually go forward and do good and hold true to what we've committed to with God and follow through with what He said. And I mean, Matthew 5 verse 6 talks about, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for holiness, and they shall have their fill. So we end up experiencing a physical hunger with the fast, and that transpires into the spiritual hunger and thirsting that we also have after God, which Christ says He's the living bread that comes down from heaven, and whoever eats and drinks of Him will inherit eternal life. So we have this opportunity to come forward, and it really sets the tone and reverence for what it is that we're about to receive, which is why that fasting is so important. And just another word on the Eucharist. In paragraph 1402 in the Catechism, there's a prayer in here that I read, and I really, really liked it. And it says, O sacred banquet in which Christ is received as food, the memory of His passion is renewed, the soul is filled with grace, and a pledge of the life to come is given to us. And it talks about how it's the pledge of glory to come. It's at the altar we're filled with every heavenly blessing and grace. So it's actually an anticipation of heavenly glory. So by fasting before the Eucharist, we're actually preparing ourselves to experience God to the fullest degree that we can while we're here on earth. And it starts to be a really beautiful thing when we really embrace it and desire after that, and open ourselves up to that deep experience that we can have with Him. So that's all I have for today. That came up in a couple different conversations this week, so I thought I'd chat about that for a little bit. Curious on any additional comments you may have on the matter or questions, and I'll look forward to chatting with you guys in the comments, and I will see you again next week Sunday. Have a great week. God bless.